Good evening. Thanks everyone for tuning in. You're watching the Anarchist, MMA and Miscellany on Voluntary Virtues Network. I'm your host, Jesse the Anarchist Elliott. So I wanted to start out this evening by giving a little shout out to all my Glory MMA teammates that fought over the weekend. First off, Zach Cummins, he fought in the UFC in Dublin show yesterday. It was at welterweight. It was his, I believe, his third fight in the UFC. I think he did enough to win the first round, but he ended up losing to rear naked choke late in the second. I got to give props to his opponent, Gunnar Nelson. Gunnar Nelson remains undefeated. And he might turn out to be, the best fighter in the welterweight division. We'll see what else comes of this guy. I honestly don't think Zach has anything to be ashamed of in that fight. That brings me to KCFA 11 from last night, which, by the way, I'm fighting on the next KCFA 12, or Fight for Your Bike, or next month, August 16th, at Gales Hart-Davidson in Granby, Missouri. KCFA 11, brought to you by McCarthy Auto Group. It was in Independence, Missouri. Said it was last night, was it July 19th? Anyway, it was last night, Independence, Missouri, the Truman Memorial Building. To start off the night, Stephen Reagan had a lightweight fight. He started off the night right with a TKO in the first round over Dylan Smith. Dylan's the same guy that I fought last, and I thought it was a good matchup between those guys because they're both real tall and long. I told Stefan, he should be able to knock the guy around, and he did. Personally, I won a decision against Dylan in April, and I truly felt that the only thing stopping me from knocking him out was his considerable size and reach advantage. After that, our team had a couple of tough losses, and we had some great wins. There were several that I want to mention. Antonio Martinez, he had a nice first round knockout win against his opponent. It was a heavyweight fight. Light heavyweight, my bad. I really expect big things from Antonio. And fight of the night went to the featherweight bout between Glory MMA's Brandon McMahon and a real tough dude named Horatio Escobar. The crowd was electrified from start to finish as these guys swung for the fences pretty much the entire fight. What a battle it was! They went back and forth for 3 rounds. I lost count of how many times it seemed like one might knock the other one out. There was a lot of knockdowns. It was just a knockout, drag-out fight. These guys were going at it like Diego Sanchez and Clay Guida. I don't know who saw that fight, but in my opinion, that was the most exciting fight in UFC history. And I'm comparing this amateur fight to that one. That's how good it was. So by the time the third round started, everyone around me was thinking fight of the night, and the whole crowd knew it was going to be fight of the night by the end of the fight. Horatio Escobar, he ended up getting the win by a very close split decision. But I honestly feel like there were no losers in that fight at all. They were both winners in my book. And I don't say that a lot. It's kind of cheesy or cliche to say something like that. But I really mean that when I say it. Andrew Swafford and Josh Reed, they had a great close fight at welterweight, 170. This one, it went back and forth. It was all over the place. At one point in the first round, Josh Reed took Andrew's back, and Andrew stood up with Reed still on his back. You know, he got his hooks in, and he was hanging on there for a good while. That's for a good portion of that round. But yet, by the end of the round, Swafford had top position over Josh Reed, with Reed's back on the mat. First round was close. Most gave it to Reed, and you know, while I could see the case for Reed winning the round, I personally thought it was too close to call. That's just me, I guess. Most people disagreed, but anyway, so the second round was also very close, but Swafford was doing a great job of controlling position. He had Reed's back against the cage a lot, you know, working on just grinding him down with good head control, good hand control, good head and hand position, you know. And so I gave the second round to Swafford. Third round was all Swafford. Again, he did a great job of controlling his opponent, especially in the clinch. Again, he was a clear winner of that last round, the third round. You know, by the end of it all, both fighters were bruised and bloody, and again the crowd was on their feet, you know, with standing ovation, just like the fight between McMahon and Escobar. You know, and had it not been for McMahon and Escobar's fight, there's no doubt in my mind that this would have been fight of the night. Now I had Swafford winning this, and everyone there seemed to agree that Andrew Swafford won the second and third rounds. Even Josh Reed's corners thought that Andrew won. Two of the judges disagreed. Whatever. Officially, Josh Reed won a very close split decision. But everyone knows Andrew Swafford won that fight. It was a terrible, terrible call by the judges. Two of them anyway. At least one judge got it right. So, good job on the judge that got it right. Thanks. That brings me to the amateur main event between Ben Elmore, also known as Bama, and Caleb Eads. Now, Ben Elmore did a nice job and won this heavyweight bout, choking out his opponent early in the first round. And if you ever met Bama on the street, he's probably one of the nicest guys you ever meet. You know, he's a real Southern gentleman. But he turned into an animal in the cage last night. So I really think MMA, combat sports, and contact sports, they're really an important outlet for people. A lot of men, I think, kind of have a violent side, and they need something like that so they don't feel a need to take it out on someone on the street, or worse, someone close to them. Even not necessarily even physical aggression, but just any kind. Now, I already talked about the difference between aggressive violence or non-consensual violence and what goes on in a mixed martial arts match, a mutually agreed upon contest between two consenting parties. I think I talked about that in the very first episode of this show, so I think you all kind of know how I feel about that. People need an outlet for their stress and anger, even if it isn't competing in something. I saw a page the other day called Jiu-Jitsu Saved My Life. I couldn't even begin to tell you how true that is for myself and for countless others. Anyway, back to the fights. There's some of the other amateur results I was going to go through. Ante LaPietra, he lost a decision to Calvin Williams Jr. at 155. Calvin is a tough little dude. He should probably be fighting at 45 or 35 even. But he ended up getting a win, so props to you. Amon Walia won a featherweight match against Preston Mabels. Got a nice armbar in the second round. Real nice. I was personally, as watching it, kind of had to root for the jiu-jitsu guy versus the wrestler, because he seemed real comfortable pulling guard a lot, and he went for a lot of submissions in that first round and wasn't getting them. And so I was kind of worried for the guy, but Amar, he pulled it off in the second. It was a beautiful armbar. Brandon Vaughn, he fought Kevin Wollkamp in a heavyweight match. Brandon lost by a controversial ref stoppage. Paul Davenport was defeated by Dante Jones in another heavyweight bout. So that was it with the amateurs. And this brings us to the professional card. So, speaking of another guy that is just a real nice dude and turns into an animal in the cage, Glory MMA's Muay Thai coach and co-owner, the Uruguayan man known to most as Tonga, Gaston Reno, he had a very highly anticipated second professional mixed martial arts fight against Wes Miller at 145. And after a disappointing no contest in his MMA debut in Titan FC earlier this year, a lot of us wanted to see it, and of course he wanted to get back in the cage, and we're all eager to see Tonga in action again. He did not disappoint. So early in the first round, Wes Miller caught Tonga with a nice elbow that actually it almost stopped the fight for Tonga. But Tonga recovered. Though he seemed to be cut pretty bad. He was bleeding pretty good. At one point, he landed a real nice shot that appeared, I thought, it looked like it landed on Miller's body. It looked like a clean shot to me. And it dropped Miller. Miller grabbed his cup when he went down, though. And some were claiming it was a cup shot. I personally didn't see it, and apparently the ref didn't either, because, I'll tell you, the rest of the fight was just strange. So, after he went down, Tonga, he waited, he delayed a bit, he waited probably a good second before he decided to jump on him, and he delivered just a nice hammer fist that put Miller out cold. Now, right about that same time was when the ref decided to break it up. There seemed to be some confusion, but he made Tonga go to a neutral corner, and he made him go to a neutral corner while Miller recovered. Now, after the restart, Tonga, he really seemed to be playing with him. He just seemed to be toying with him. He imposed his will. He was doing whatever he wanted in that striking game. So Tonga, he knocked him down a couple of times, and there were some nice leg kicks while he was, versus the downed opponent. He ended up winning the fight by causing another professional fighter, an experienced professional fighter, to tap to strikes. Now, I've been watching MMA for a while. I've been a fan for several years, at least 7 or 8 years. And I've been competing in this sport myself for a little over a year now. Training for a while, training for longer than that. In all that time, I've seen a lot of fights at all levels. From, the lowest all amateur shows up to the UFC. But never before have I seen someone tap due to a leg kick. Tonga's kicks are on another level. They earned a much deserved and much anticipated first professional MMA win. And I'll put a YouTube link up, I think, for his fight. We'll put it down in the about section, the text part of this video will be below the video. The main event of the night was for the inaugural Kansas City Fighting Alliance Pro Welterweight title. Super duper Bobby Cooper, a Bellator veteran, and another Glory MMA guy. He faced Josh Tolley in a much anticipated fight for amongst the KC mixed martial arts scene. It was a real close fight. It went back and forth, but neither fighter really stood out. Josh Tolley ended up winning the decision after 3 rounds. Now, Bobby Cooper did not seem to fight as well or as hard as he should have and could have. For that matter, totally could probably have fought harder as well. And I still feel that, personally, I still feel that Cooper is the better fighter. I don't know what happened. But don't beat me up, guys. I'm just saying what everybody else is thinking. So, moving on. So a friend and a teammate of mine. I'm not gonna name any names in this case, but he's been asking a lot of questions to me lately about government and stuff. Sometimes he's just trying to mess with me, play around, whatever. And sometimes there's really some genuine questions. He seems really curious about why I'm an anarchist, or just got questions about anarchism. So it's paraphrasing a little, but this is like an example of a real conversation that we had one day. He once asked, okay, so government's gone. So the government's gone. Then what? You wake up one day, there's no government. So I'm like, what? Then what? Nothing. People go on with their lives. He said, who would build the roads, he asks. So I say, who builds the roads now? Road construction companies build the roads now, right? We could just pay them directly, or businesses could. The unnecessary middleman would just be cut out. There's a lot of possibilities. People use their imaginations. And then he looks at me and he says, "The government is really just a gang, huh?" And I'm thinking, exactly. He gets it. The state's I told him, yeah, exactly. The state's a mafia. They just have more guns and better PR than the rest of them. So I was kind of a little proud of him and myself with that little exchange. So anyway, so like I said, he makes a lot of jokes. He makes a lot of jokes when he sees me about us, the two of us, starting our own government. Like, whatever, man. But the other day, he asked me how I feel whenever a cop pulls me over. And that question, it really got me thinking, and it got me to write something. Let's just think about this scenario. So let's say there's a man. He's a dad. Now, what if his kids are runners? They like to run a lot. But what if his stepdad had a heart attack while running, or he saw a news story about someone having a heart attack while running? And what if he forbade his kids from running? What if they sometimes ran anyway? What if he beat his kids for running? Would he be justified? Would he? What if his kids were grown, but he still beat them for running? What if he punched them, he beat them, he kicked them anytime, whenever he saw them running? What if he did this to other people who weren't even his kids, but he just considered them his kids? Or even, what if his kids didn't want to be his kids? What if anytime he saw someone running near his house, he ran out and beat them up? What if, instead of beating those people, he asked for money instead? What if it was you? What if it was you? Would you pay him? What if he demanded money? You didn't ask. What if you wanted to tell him no when he demanded money because he saw you running? What if, when he told you no, he then beat you up, or he locked you in a cage? What if you cannot fight back? Because if you did fight back, he and maybe his buddies would kill you or kidnap you and keep you prisoner for the rest of your life. What if you did fight back, but nearly everyone else in town took his side over yours? What if everyone in town was okay with this, including the local news? What if this happened in every town in the country, in the world? Are we ready for anarchism yet? Now, ask me how I feel when I'm stopped by the cops. There's no move of the week tonight, guys. I really need some of you to send me some video submissions. So if you're a martial artist, instructor, fighter, whatever. But I was approached by a girl I know, another anarchist, Tony Bones, about something that I think would be like a good supplement for this show, like maybe a crossover show, whatever. But she wanted to collaborate on something about basically defense, not being a victim, women's self-defense, teaching women to defend themselves. And, yeah, all about that. And it really got me thinking, the first thing I could say to the ladies out there is fucking take a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes, and especially learn about the guard and attacks from the guard. I think that's the number one defense against a scenario where a girl is being forcibly raped. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents there. Got some stuff going on, like I said. I'm going to be fighting August 16th, Gail Sawyer Davidson. It's going to be in Grandview, Missouri. Got tickets for sale. You guys can hit me up on my Facebook for that. It's going to be should be a really exciting night of fight, so I'm really excited for this. Those of you that don't know, I announced on the Facebook page that at least for now, this show is moving to a bi-weekly format, so it's going to be every other week. So I'll see everyone in 2 weeks, not next weekend. So I think that's it. You've been watching the Anarchist, MMA, and Miscellany on Voluntary Virtues Network. So I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Good night.